how to write an equation for an oscillating function. What we're talking about here is we're talking about functions that go up and down, suggesting to us that sine or cosine would be an appropriate model. So really what we want to do is we want to look at our problem and we just want to say, okay, well, where's the following information? Do we have some maximum value? Do we have some minimum value? Do we have some median or middle value? If we do, we now know things. We know that this is our vertical shift. We now know that this is our amplitude. So we're already well on the way to having an equation. So let's look at what else we might know. We would be given a starting point. Do we start at a maximum? If we do, we've just been told our horizontal shift and that this is a cosine graph. Do we start at a minimum? If we do, we've been told our horizontal shift and that this is a negative cosine graph. Do we start in the middle? If we do, we've just been told our horizontal shift, and if it is increasing from that point, that it is a sine curve, and that if it is decreasing from that point, that it is a negative sine curve. So what do we know? Well, y equals a sine or cosine of frequency times x minus the horizontal shift plus k. At this point, we have everything except the frequency. So the last question is two parts. One, are we given period of the function? If we are, then the frequency is 2 pi divided by the period. Alternatively, are we given the frequency? If we are, then we're done, because this goes into the equation as it stands. All right, so a very, very quick example. And I'm just going to draw right over top of this using a different color. Let's just use blue because we can. Here's our example. High tide happens at 6 a.m. Well, what do I know? I know that I have a starting point of 6 a.m. and I know that it is a high tide. My equation is already y equals cosine x minus 6. We are told that high tide is 12 feet and low tide is 4 feet. What do I know? This distance here is 8, which means that the middle must also be at 8 with a 4 and 4. So I now know that k is 8 and that a is 4. So I put a plus 8 and I put a 4. The only other information I need is period. Well, how many tides do we have every day? 2 per day, which means that the length of one is 12 hours, which means that the frequency is 2 pi over 12, and I plug that into my equation. Boom, I'm done. I don't even have to simplify 2 pi over 12 unless I really want to. I prefer not to. Again, what did we have? We were given a maximum. We were given a minimum. We were able to then calculate the median. That gave us our vertical shift, our amplitude. We were given a starting time and where that starting time was, which told us what kind of equation it was going to be and what our horizontal shift was. And based on our knowledge of tides, 2 per day, we knew that we had a period which allowed us to calculate a frequency. Hope this has helped. Have a great day.